Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to say one last time, if everybody could put their phones on mute, that would be helpful in allowing everybody else to hear. At this point in the conference, you should be able to see my screen, which is the MagNet homepage. And if you're there, then you really don't need to do much after that. Just sit back and watch. I am going to ask that everyone hold their questions patiently until the end of the demonstration. We got a lot to go over here today, and in order to fit it all in, I'd like to go through the things that I'd like to show you, and then certainly, we'll stay on as long as we need to afterwards, answering questions. Once again, thank you for joining. It's a really exciting time for us here at MagNet. We've got a pretty good turnout here, and I'm excited to do our first webinar. So hopefully all of you are using the system and continue to find it valuable. I think today's demonstration will let you use the system even more to help you fulfill your needs. It is a pretty versatile tool, and there are a number of tips and tricks and things that we can teach you here today that will help you. And feel free, as always, to let me know if you're having any issues with any reports. As you know, a large portion of MagNet and reports that we built were built by your feedback. So we always encourage that, and it is very valuable to us. We have roughly 80 or 90 static reports out there now, and a large portion of those are from you guys. So so thanks for that, and thanks for sticking with us. What I'm going to do here today, to just briefly go over the agenda that was included, is I'm going to go through and I'm going to touch on a few things with MagNet. I'm going to show some tricks and some tips in the static reports, as well as the need to show you guys all how to schedule any of the reports that we currently have out there. That's been a big demand for people, so that they don't really have to do anything. They're going to show up to work and on Monday morning, and there's going to be a report in their inbox. So we're going to go through that. That is pretty valuable. I know that's something that we use internally quite a bit, just for scheduling our own reports and doing our own auditing and analysis. From there, I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you some of the newer static reports that you all will have access to. And then I'm going to go into some of the POS stuff that we have, and some of the new exciting reports that we've built in the last few months that are really helping people look at the industry as a whole and benchmark themselves, be it as a chain or a wholesaler, against their competitors. So a lot of stuff to go through today. I hope that it's swift enough to keep your attention. A lot of it is going to be just showing of reports and tactics like that, since most of you should be pretty familiar with the tool at this time. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to log in as myself. This may look a little bit different than some of the things that you currently have. You may see some things that you don't currently have access to, and those are development things that we use here on the MagNet side. What I've done is I've gone in, and in my folders I've created a folder called Webinar, and inside of that folder I've got basically a list here of the things that I'd like to show. It also is a great way to show how you can do this yourself. You can build reports and create report views of reports, have shortcuts to reports, and put them all in your My Folders, so you can basically customize the dashboard to appear whatever way you want. So that's basically what I've done here today. All of these links that are showing on my screen now are shortcuts or report views of reports that we have out there. So all of this stuff is currently available. It's live data that we have, and I've sort of consolidated it into one folder that I want to show you here today. So the first thing on the agenda today is to briefly touch on the MagNet data. And as you may know, we are collecting data from 100% of Canada and roughly 98% of the United States wholesalers out there. We have a document out there that currently has the list of all of the wholesalers we are currently getting data on a weekly basis. It is a major role of ours to take in that data, make sure that it's correct, clean the data, and provide that clean data to you all to do reporting on. This document is available in every one of your dashboards in the wholesaler O&R folder. As I scroll through here, you will see all of the wholesalers that we currently have, as well as the date all the way on the right that we're loading that data into our database. So if you ever want to know, hey, when does News Group Atlanta go into the business intelligence reporting tool, this document is there for you to reference. Scrolling through here briefly, you'll see all of the agencies that we currently have the data for. If there's any questions about this and getting access to some of these wholesalers, feel free to reach out to me after the call, shoot me a quick email, and I certainly can answer any of those questions. On top of the O&R data, it is important to realize that we now are getting over 20 chains worth of point of sale. So we are getting those chains, currently auditing the data for those chains, and we do have reporting available for that. I will go into that briefly here, the middle to end part of the demonstration here today. The second thing that I really want to show you is basically some ways to customize your dashboard. These are things that aren't really going to affect the functionality too much, but everybody likes to see their dashboard in a different way. Some people like to see it in the list view as we described. Some people like to see it in the details view. All of those things can kind of be done within the settings of the business intelligence tool, and those are up here in the top right-hand corner. If you come into this little man up here, you can view my preferences. You can set watch items that you want to use. You can look at the current schedules and activities that you're currently doing, and this is a nice way to just basically change the look and feel of your dashboard. I'm going to go into my preferences here and kind of page around. I can briefly explain some of the things that you can change. You can change the number of reports that are available in the main page of your dashboard. I have it currently set to 40. You can change that to 100 if you want. You also can set up alternating backgrounds, so in case you're getting the reports, you're having a hard time seeing them, you can change that in here as well. You also can change the default method that you want the report to come to you. So if you're not exporting these reports right away and you're doing a lot of analysis in the actual browser window, then this HTML form is perfect for you. But if every time you're looking at a report and you want to export it to Excel, you can change that format here. So that's something that's important to point out as well. You can also change the number of columns within the details view, and that's the view, once again, that has the description of the report. That is here as well. And you can change a number of different things in here that regard you as a person. You can change your email address so you don't have to type it in every time when you're scheduling reports and things like that. So don't be scared to click around in here. You can't break it. You can come in here and change all of this data, and don't be afraid of it. Once again, you can also change what you have as the home page. You can, right now I have this folder in my folders as the home page. You can do that simply by clicking on the arrow next to the home page and do a set as home, set view as home. So that's something that's neat that you can do if you're automatically going to your my folders every time. If you're automatically going into a particular section of the public folders every time, then you can set that up as well. So that's important to point out. Something else that's important to point out is through the settings in the dashboard, you can add tabs here to the top. So if you want to create separate tabs and say, hey, this is a sales analysis tab, this is a draw analysis tab, that's the kind of stuff that you can do that may make you a little more efficient at getting to the exact report that you're used to looking at and getting to it quickly. So that's basically what I wanted to touch on in regards to the look and feel of the dashboard. The stuff is pretty user friendly. If you have any questions with that, once again, feel free to reach out to me after this call. The second thing that I want to touch on is running reports on the back end. Every report that we have available can be run on the back end. Every report that we have available, you can create a schedule for. A lot of our reports are built on one title and, you know, at the chain level or the wholesaler level. But if you're the type of user that is constantly getting stuff at the store level and you want the store level data, you want a data dump, then it may be right for you to run that report on the back end. And the only difference there is that instead of running the report and getting it to display into the internet browser and then trying to pull it out in Excel, this is going to immediately run on the back end, and it's going to send you a link to the report or an actual copy of the report in your email. And there's another added advantage to that. The timeout time for a report on the front end, I believe, is 5 minutes, and on the back end it is 10 minutes. And the reason behind that is because you know, the users that are getting the store level data need a little more time, and if it's running on the back end, it certainly won't hold up your system from creating reports. We don't want, the last thing we want is for users to be sitting in their dashboard trying to run a report and staring at an hourglass. So if you find yourself doing that for more than a minute, then you need to be running the report more than likely on the back end. I'm going to briefly demonstrate how to do that. The second line item here is a report that you're probably all familiar with. It's the one title O&R report, which is basically a store level report for a particular chain or a particular wholesaler that has the issues going left to right on the page. If we wanted to rip out this report and run it on the back end, the way that you can, a quick way that you can do that is by clicking the play button to the right of that report. So when you click that report, you'll see that it brings you to this module. One thing that it's important to point out to everyone is anywhere you see a link that says advanced options, it's going to go ahead, it's going to be smart to go ahead and click into that and see what that means. So what I'm going to do, after you click that arrow of the report that you want to schedule to run on the back end, you click advanced options. It asks you, what do you want to do? Well, by default, it's going to run the report now. What we want to do is run the report in the background. So we can pick that item. We can click that we want to run it now, or we can schedule it to run an hour from now. That's something that you can do. If you want to kick it off to run at exactly, you know, 8 a.m. tomorrow, one time only, then you can do that by clicking the later button here. If you want to run it now, then you're going to leave it clicked as the now button. By default, the report is going to run and be built in HTML because that's what I have set in my user preferences. So if you want this report to come by email in a different format, you want to uncheck this button and go ahead and go in and check whichever version of Excel you have. From there, what you can do is you can come over here to the right. You can click that you want to send the report by email, and you can come in here and you can edit the options. In here, you can put in whatever you want in the body of the email. You can rename the subject to whatever you want, and you can also put whoever you want on that email. What's important to realize is that if you're actually including the attached report, or if you're including the attached report, that would work perfectly fine. But if it's a link to the report and you're meaning to send it to someone else, they're going to need that credential to get to that report. So if you're planning on sending this report to someone else, then you're going to want to actually attach the report. You'll go ahead and put whatever email information you want in here and click OK. And then basically what you'll do, you'll click Run here down on the bottom. And this will go through and it will look like a simple one title O&R report. And you'll go in and you'll build the report just like you would if you're running it on the front end. You'll pick your wholesalers, you'll pick your title, and you'll go through and run the report. After that is done, you'll click Finish, and it'll bring you right back to the main dashboard, and it will appear like, you know, like nothing really happened in the internet browser. But shortly after that, when the report finishes running, you will get that receipt in your email and you will get the report. So I wanted to show everybody, especially people that are running store level data, how to do that. It is a little tricky to do it the first time, but I think what you'll find is that that once you do it a few times, it is pretty easy. And if you remember to click that Advanced Options button, that you'll see those options and you'll remember to do it, and it should be fine. Another thing that's important to realize and point out is that if you're running these huge reports and you're planning on attaching that report, many of you have email firewalls for a file above 10 megabytes, let's say. So in that case, you may want to just include the link to the report, and that way it'll enable you to download the report as soon as you click on the link in your email. So that's important to realize. If you're running a huge report and you're saying, hey, it's not coming to my email, it may be because of that. So once again, you can change those options. If I go in and run the report on the back end, you can change those options when you're in this actual email file. You'll see them on the bottom. It says include a link to the report or attach the report, and that's where you change that. Okay, the next thing that I want to point out here is that as we begin to build our reports, we're finding different ways to filter the data are becoming more beneficial for our end users. We find that providing them the ability to filter more and more on these static reports makes the data more valuable. It trims the fat, let's say. And we've done that in a number of different ways. A lot of things that you'll begin to see with a lot of the new reports are that you're going to have optional filters. And an example of that is in our existing one title ONR report, where you come in here, you pick a wholesaler set, you can pick the whole country or whomever you want, and this is the first thing that you're going to pick. And then you go in and you see that the next filter is an optional filter. So if you wanted to filter this down to look at the whole country but just for Kroger, you could do that in here. So it's important to look for that when you're running these static reports. When you see the optional filter there, it's important to realize that you don't have to put anything in there. So if you wanted to run a one title ONR just for a wholesaler, then this is where you're going to do it, and you can leave this blank. So if I leave this blank and go to the next option, it's gonna ask me for the title. So I don't have to put in that optional filter. So as you begin to go in and see our reports, you'll see how our reports are evolving, and there's a reason behind that. The reason behind that is that people say, hey, you have a one title ONR report by wholesaler, you have a one title ONR report by chain. How do I do both? Can I do both? Well, yeah, we've done that by consolidating reports and adding these optional filters. The next thing that I want to show is that on this one title ONR report, you have two separate versions that you can export the report in. And I just want to do a brief explanation of what those two different versions are. Many of you are familiar with the cross-tab version, which is the one title ONR with dealers going down the page and the issues going left to right on the page. That would be called the cross-tab report. The second one would be the list view report, which has the issues going down the page. It's important to realize that for the business intelligence tool to export a cross-tab report, it is a little hard for it to gather all that data and pivot it. So if you want to run it in a quicker format, you can do so by putting that into the list view and pivoting it yourself. So once again, that you will see that option appear on a bunch of different reports that we have. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel here. And the next thing that I want to show is basically what the difference is between a shortcut to a report and a report view of a report. In order to create a schedule of a report, you have to first create a report view of it. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go into a report and I'm going to pick on it. That is going to be a report that you're very familiar with. It's the target efficiency report. I'm going to go ahead and run this report for a title. once I have this report run, you're going to see that, you know, this is the data that you need. If you ever want to create a snapshot of this report so that you can go back to it and you want to store it in your dashboard, you can do so by coming up here and going to keep this version. So what that's going to do is that's going to save this exact version of this report. And that's basically what a report view is. It says that on this date and time, this report was ran, and this is the data that it gave us. So if I go in here and I come in and I say I want to save this as a report view, and I want to save it as target efficiency webinar, it's going to go in and it's going to save that report view to my folders. You can go in and you can change exactly where you want to save that file. I'm going to go into my handy webinar folder here, and I'm going to click OK. Now it's going to save a snapshot of this report in my folders. So if I go into my folders, once again, I set that as my home page, you will see that that report would save in here in a report view of that report. When that report is in here, you can go in and then create a schedule for that report view to rerun and refresh. And you do that by, once you see a particular report that you want in here, you click on the scheduler icon that is to the right of that report. So this particular example that we did is the target efficiency webinar, the one that we just created. Now that I say, okay, I like this report, I'm comfortable with this report, I want to schedule it, I go over here to the right and I see the calendar icon and it says Schedule Target Efficiency Webinar. When I click on that icon, it's going to bring me into the scheduler. Okay, so this is how we're going to schedule all of our reports. Once again, anywhere you see override the default values or advanced options, I recommend that you do that. So in here, there's two cases to do that, and you would need to do that to schedule this. I think this scheduler module is pretty self-explanatory. You can run it at almost any frequency that you need. You can run it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can change it by month, by year. Any of that stuff you should be able to find in here. Over here on the right is when you would pick when you want that report to run and when you want it to end. If you want it till the end of time, you'll leave this no end date in here. Second portion of this scheduler window is override the default values. And when you check that, you'll see that, once again, by default, it is running the report in HTML because that is what I have set up. If I want this report to run in Excel, then I'm going to uncheck the HTML button, and I'm going to pick Excel 2007. From there, you can come in and you can change your email options, and you can set them up to whomever you want. And the final thing that you need to do is basically you need to check this bottom box. And what that does is it allows you to set what you want those prompts to be every time this schedule runs. So once again, we ran the report. We decided that we liked that report. We saved a report view of that report in our My Folders, and then we're scheduling that report view. The final step that we need to do after clicking on the scheduler icon is come in here, set up who we want it to go to, at what frequency, and then set the values for that report. When I click Set here, basically what it's going to do is it's going to look exactly like we're running the report. You'll see that it renamed it on the top. Once again, I'll put in a title. We'll put it in here. You'll set whatever prompts you want. As you can see, this report is built on off sale weeks. So every time this report runs, be it every week, it's gonna run at that point from 5 to 57 weeks off sale. So it's gonna run with a rolling year's worth of issues for Cosmo. So once I click Finish here, you'll see that it'll say on the bottom that my prompts have been set, and now my schedule has been created. I'm gonna click OK here. And now that schedule has been created. If I ever want to go in and modify that schedule, I can go back to that report and I can click on the scheduler icon to the right and it will go in and modify that schedule. If you ever want to see what reports you have scheduled and maybe even kick off one that you have scheduled but you don't want to wait until the next Monday, you can do that. The way that you do that is by coming over here, going to this little man once again, and going to My Activities and Schedules. And this is a pretty cool little window because it shows you all the activities that are currently running in your dashboard at this time. It also shows you anything that has run in the past. So if you're looking to see why a report didn't run or why it didn't email to you, that's where you would see that activity. It also shows you the activity that is upcoming. Any reports that you have scheduled that are coming up in the next 4 hours are going to show up here. And finally, it shows you all the schedules that you have created. You can see that I use this pretty frequently. Once this loads, you'll see all the schedules that I have created for reports that I want to automate and come to me. So these are all schedules that I've created of reports that are coming to me on different frequencies. On the top, you can see the target efficiency webinar that I just created. This is scheduled to run. I believe I set it up for once a week. If I ever want to go in and once again modify that schedule, I can come in here and I can go to modify the schedule. I can also remove the schedule. I can also run the schedule once. So if I go in to run the schedule once, it'll ask me when do I want to run that schedule. And let's say I want to run it right now instead of letting it run next Monday. That's where you would do this. In here, you can change the prompts that you want it to build on when you run it that one time. And the way you do that is by clicking here. So you can do all that, and it's pretty versatile to do that for you. So once again, this is a pretty valuable tool if you have a bunch of reports that you look at on a frequent basis, and you're always running the same thing. Why not create a schedule for it? Why not create a schedule? And just if you need to make changes to it, come in and modify the schedule. That way you won't have to remember to come in on Monday morning, run all these reports. They will automatically be delivered to your inbox. So that's important. A lot of people have a need for this. A lot of people have asked questions about this, and this is one of the major reasons that that we have this call, is to show people how to do this. Once again, once you create these schedules the first time, I think you'll become comfortable with it. And I think you'll find it pretty valuable. So now that I've created this report, it's going to run basically, every week, and it's ready to roll. And the difference between those two things basically are you create the report view, or you create a snapshot of that report. You get that saved to your My Folders, and then you create a report view for that, or you create a schedule for that report view. It's important to remember that that there's a difference there. I mean, the report view, when you create a schedule, it's going to refresh itself automatically. A report view by itself without a schedule will just stay with the information as you ran it the first time. The other thing that I touched on is that you do have the ability to create shortcuts for reports. So if you wanted to create a My Folders section just for shortcuts, basically all a shortcut does, it takes a report, and we'll go into public folders here, and we'll go into wholesaler ONR data, which you should be comfortable with, and you'll see all the reports that we have out here. And when you come over here and you go to more, what you can do is create a shortcut. And I'm going to click it here. And basically what it does is ask you, what do you want to do here? Do you want to create a shortcut to the report? Where do you want to put it? What do you want to name it? I'm just going to name it Shortcut Webinar. I'm going to pick my location. Once again, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go into My Folders. I'm going to pick the webinar section. I'm going to click Finish. And all a shortcut does is it basically is a shortcut like it would be on your desktop. Instead of going in and finding the exact report in your folders in your wholesaler ONR, this is just going to act as like a shortcut on your desktop. If you click on that, it's going to open the report as if you were in wholesaler ONR. So that's what a lot of these reports are that I've done here today in my folders, is I just created shortcuts. That way I didn't have to surf around during this demonstration and find reports that I wanted to show you. I just wanted to create shortcuts to go to the reports that we want. So once again, I created a shortcut for the one title O&R report, and we're here. That's something that I wanted to point out in here. The next thing that I want to point out is that we are consolidating a lot of our reports. Many of you may have noticed that the number of reports may have shrunk a little bit, and the reason is we're not deleting reports. We're in the process of consolidating, as I talked about, the one title O&R reports. Instead of having two different reports here, now we have one, but in all actuality it's three different reports, right? We have the one title O&R by wholesaler, we have the one title O&R by chain, and we have the one title O&R by both. So by consolidating those reports, we put it into one report and made it a little easier to navigate. So if you run into instances where you're saying, hey, I used to run the report and I remember it was called this exact thing, it's not that that report's gone now. It's likely that we've either rolled it into another report or we've consolidated it into a folder to make it easier for you guys to use. So once again, that's just something that's important to point out. Another thing that we've sort of added within the last 6 months that I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with, but we are now capturing RDC and MagNet unique ID reports. And when I say that, we are capturing the regional distribution data from News Group Atlanta and other agencies. So if you're doing distributions based on that DC, we do have those reports available. And those are located in the RDC reports. And we also have the MagNet unique ID reports that we've worked hard to build. And what that basically does is that that rolls the O&R into the unique retail location. So that's what these reports are going to do. I'm going to go back to my folders, and I'm going to show you a brief example of these two reports. What's important to realize is that they are in your dashboard. They are in the wholesaler O&R portion. Once again, they're in MagNet unique ID reports, which is here. You'll see a bunch of reports in here, ones that you should be familiar with, but it's important to realize that these all rolled up for one MagNet unique ID. Secondly, the RDC reports. If you need that next level of data, if you need those RDCs included in your reporting, that data is available within the RDC report. So you'll see one title O&Rs in here, three title comparatives. We have opportunity reports. So maybe if you're pushing too many copies to one distribution center and you want to push them to another, those are really valuable reports in the RDC report folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my folders here. I'm going to show you an example of that by showing, clicking on this report view of the MagNet unique ID report that I ran earlier today. And you'll notice that that it looks just like a simple one title O&R report. So I'm going to pick an agency. I'm going to pick this. Once again, I have an optional a chain here. I'm going to do, what do I want to do here? And this is a good reason to point out if any of you don't remember that we have wildcard in the system that is the percentage sign, and you can go in and search for a chain by using that percentage sign here and typing in a keyword. In this case, 11. I'm going to select all chain divisions for source. In 711, it's going to ask me for a title here. Once again, I'm going to use the wildcard. Okay, so basically this report, I ran it real quickly just for Source Chicago. It looks like Source Chicago is distributing to 4 separate 711s here. What's important to realize is that this is going to look exactly like a regular one title O&R report, but there is a fundamental difference. If you ran this for multiple issues, or if this particular location changed service and wholesalers, that would normally show 2 separate rows, one for Source Chicago and one for another source agency. And these reports, it's always going to show you the current dealer, the current servicing wholesaler. And what it's going to do is it's going to roll up the O&R into that particular store. So in this case, let's just say this dealer came on and the draw was distributed from another source location. However, the returns came in from source Chicago. It's going to show that data under source Chicago, although the draw information theoretically is from another source location. So it's rolling that together, and it's showing it under the current servicing wholesaler, and it's showing it under that one MagNet unique ID. And the reason we've done this is because there was a huge need for it, right? When Anderson stores went to News Group, when some of the News Group stores changed wholesalers, when some of the select media stores now have gone to News Group. Also, when the Hudson MDI stores have transitioned over to North Bergen. With all the change in the industry, we saw a need for this, and we created reports, and we created this MagNet unique ID. And it's been very helpful for our users, and I'm glad that we've done this, and it's been useful for you guys. So thanks for feedback on that. I'm going to move on. The next thing I'm going to show you is the RDC level reporting. Once again, I touched on it and showed you where those reports are. Just a brief look at a target efficiency report that I ran. This is just a report view of one that I ran earlier today for Cosmo. I ran it for one issue. If I scroll down, you'll see for News Group Atlanta, you'll see the RDC level distribution. So you have a subtotal here. This is the distribution of Cosmo issue 10. The total distribution for Atlanta is here, but you have the breakout here by regional distribution center. Okay, so in here you're going to see the different draw and sale numbers for those different distribution centers. And once again, you know, this is just one of the many reports we have at the RDC level. We have the opportunity reports, we have the comparative reports, and we have the target efficiency reports available for you. Okay. The next thing that I want to touch on basically is some of the POF reporting that we have out there. Once again, I said in the beginning of the report of the introduction that we do have 20+ chains sending us POS. We do have a large number of POS reports available out there at the chain and store level. I'll show you those real quick. If you have a need for this, feel free to contact me or Ray Shaw if you want to get access to the POS. Once again, I'm going to go into the store level. There are some reports that are in the store and chain level of the POS. We have POS sales by barcode. We have them separated out by chain division, chain headquarter. You can rent for multiple titles. You can look at it by issue, which is always a challenge because not always are chains scanning the issue code, right? So we're currently taking in sales based on on-sale, off-sale dates and what we see in industry trends and lumping them into a particular issue. Some of the chains we do have are sending us issue codes. In that case, we would obviously show it under the correct issue code. But that's nice to see that. We currently are linking that with draw information from the wholesalers. I will touch on that briefly as well. So we have a number of different POS reports out there. This is something that is growing every day. There becomes more and more a need for POS, and we're actively trying to get POS from all the chains out there, and our reports are growing. So this is kind of a baby of the ONR. We started with a few reports as we see a need, and as we see that our clients have a need for these reports, we continue to build more and more reports for the POS. Once again, we have this at the store and the chain level. I'm going to report here that shows the chain level of POS that we currently have. Across the top, you'll see the chains that we currently have POS for, mentioning a few here. We have Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Chapters, Costco, Delhaize, Food Lion, and we have Kroger, we have Parity. So just touching on a few, you can certainly see the list here. If you need this list from me and if this is something that you're interested in, please feel free to shoot me or Ray an email after this call. This type of reporting is available. This is a report that I ran pretty quickly for Cosmo for data sale for the first 2 weeks in January. We are currently getting POS from a number of these chains on a daily basis, Kroger being one of them. So we load the previous day's POS the next day in our system. So theoretically, afternoon today, we can see yesterday's POS. So that becomes very valuable for people that are doing projections and trending analysis and things like that. So that's important to realize that we currently have that. Once again, this is the chain level POS. I'm going to show you briefly a report view of the store level POS that we have. Once again, it's the same concept here. I picked a particular date of sale range, and then you'll see each row represents a store and the date of sale for that particular date of sale. So if I wanted to rip this out and pivot it and maybe look at it, you know, in any different slice, that is currently available, and we have it down to the store level. The next thing that I want to point out is cover analyzer report that we have. This has become one of the most exciting reports that we have just because of how versatile it is. One thing that is neat about this is a while back we decided that we wanted to start scanning the top 1,000 covers in the industry, and we're currently doing that. So we have most of your major titles and getting them on a weekly basis and scanning them into our system. I think the title list is over 2,000, but we're scanning roughly 1,000 of them a week. So what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to briefly show you some of the options you can look at this cover analyzer report for. What I'm going to do is you'll notice here that there's a lot of different options. And I forgot to mention that we do have the cover analyzer report built on POS currently available, and we're very close to having the cover analyzer report finished for the ONR data. I'm going to demonstrate the ONR data here today. What I'm going to do here is put in up to 52-week off sale. It asks you what do you want to sort the report by. I'm going to sort it by 12-issue index, and I'll explain to you what that is in a second. The second thing it's going to ask for is do I want to look at a particular title? In this case, once again, I'll pick on Cosmo. And I did an off-sale week range, which once again is an optional filter. You certainly could have picked which issues you wanted to see down here. The next thing that you can pick is you have the option to pick a certain cover personality. We're taking all these covers in, and we're tagging them with who's on the cover. So if you wanted to look at all the different magazines with Barack Obama on the cover, you can do that. All the different Lady Gaga covers, you're able to do that in this tool. Secondly, you can search for titles within a particular cover theme. You can search for bipads in a certain bipad category, and you can look at just a particular frequency if you want to. All of these filters, once again, are optional filters that makes the report so much more versatile. So once again, I'm just going to simply click on Cosmo for the last year. You'll see that returning all of the covers and as well as their ONR sales for that particular issue. One thing that I did mention that I'll explain now is I sorted this by a 12-issue index. And what that basically does is that takes the current sales for that issue and then compares it to the previous 4, 8, and 12 issues. So basically it takes the issue, takes the sales, and it compares it to the previous issues. So in this case, Lady Gaga Cosmo was a very hot issue. It sold on average 7% higher than the previous 12 issues of Cosmo. So this is showing that. And I chose to sort going descending here and you can scroll through here, and Lady Gaga would be your best cover, and as you scroll down, the worst cover would be below. So that's basically how this reporting works. Now, this is something that may be valuable for you or not. It's a great way to see the trend in the industry. Once again, I mentioned that we have this available for ONR and POS. So we do have this based on POS, which takes a number of those chains, lumps them together, and then we'll show you POS sales, and that way you can look at more current issues and get a quick projection of recent issues out there. So this is one way of slicing this report. Another thing that I want to point out that I forgot to mention earlier is that if you ever want to rerun a report, the play button, once again, is here in the top part of your screen. If you want to rerun a report and save the prompts, you can click this, and it will basically rerun the report, but it will save all of your different prompts. So now we're once again back into this. I'm going to delete this filter. I'm going to click refresh here, so it links that out. And then I'm going to look at, let's say I want to look at a way of looking at this, and I want to look at all the covers that Obama's on the cover for. So it says, hey, you can search for a cover personality. I'm going to use my fancy wildcard here once again, and I'm going to type in Obama. Okay, so here's all the different cover personalities that we've tagged on this. We have all the different Obamas here. I'm going to pick on Barack. I'm going to insert him. Once again, I'm going to scroll through here. We could look at just one editorial category. We could look at just one frequency of magazine if we wanted to, and I'm going to click finish. So this is looking across our entire database for all the covers within the last 6 months for all the covers that Barack is currently on, and it's calculating the ONR sales for the last year's worth of issues and indexing them. Okay, so you'll see that this loaded. You'll see some of the different covers that we have out there that we've built into the system and that we are actively scanning. Once again, this ran across all the titles that we have out there. It picked up all the different covers that they have. It also ran how well they've sold within the last 12 issues, 4 issues, 8 issues, and then compared them to the current issue. So if you step back and think about all that this report is doing, and for it to return in 20 seconds or less, it's pretty impressive. So this is pretty valuable here. You can look and see you know, how he's doing on particular titles. And once again, all of these reports are exportable. So I could rip this out in PDF, bring it to a meeting, and hand it out, and this could be a great conversation piece and a great way to analyze the data. Okay. The next thing that I want to touch on is something that we've had for quite a bit, but we haven't opened up to a ton of people. It's something that is currently available, and that is a number of reports that will enable you to benchmark yourself against your competitors or against the entire industry. We have it in a number of different slices. We have it available to compare one wholesaler against the whole country. We have it to compare one retailer against the whole country. We have it to compare one class of trade against the whole country. It also has the versatility of picking all the different options of picking, different frequencies, different class of trades. So I'm going to go into this particular report, and you'll see that this is a benchmark report. And looking at the top, basically what I did is I picked Kroger, and I picked it to go against the entire industry. So in these graphs, the retailer, Kroger, would be the tannish line, and the market would be the bluish line. And I picked all the weekly titles. Once again, I could pick all different frequencies, and I picked just for supermarkets. So you can see here that I ran this based on units and dollar sales. We also have this available for draw. And basically what I did is I looked at the last 12 months and how Kroger is performing on weekly titles in comparison to the market. Once again, Kroger is included in the market here in the blue number, so you'll see the trending is similar. You can exclude that if you pick that in the report process. So once again, here you can see how they've done in each month, and as well as how the market has done in each month, as well as the net change over that time period. So in this case, it hasn't changed much, but this is just an important report to realize that we're thinking on this level, we're looking at data on this level, maybe looking at one particular agency against the entire country for a particular biped set, or for a particular class of trade, or anything like that. So this report is just as valuable, and this is something that we currently have available. We do include what titles are listed within those frequencies. So if I wanted to come in here, I could click on weekly, and it's going to show me all the different titles that we classify as weekly. So once again, this list is here. So we're trying to provide all the details so that when you look at these types of comparisons, you can have all the details at your fingertips. So once again, these are called the benchmarking reports. The next thing that I want to show here today is what we call the ranking reports. And what this is based on POS, and it takes the ranking for X number of titles and looks at it for a particular chain. So I'm going to go into a ranking report that I ran. I ran this for Kroger Atlanta. I could have ran it for all of Kroger, but I picked one division of Kroger, and I looked at the last 7 days for Kroger, and I just wanted to see what titles and how well they're doing. I could run this report, and I could schedule this report to run and come to me every day if I wanted to look at the previous day's sales at Kroger and what titles are hot right now. That way I could quickly come in, maybe look at the cover of that title and say, oh, Lady Gaga did really good on Cosmo. I can see that in their sales. So we do have ranking reports available here, and this is basically ranked by the number of units sold within the last 7 days. And the final thing that I want to show you before we go into the Query Studio tips and tricks is I want to show you something that we're really excited on. And because now we have, we're beginning to get more and more POS from all the chains out there, what we've done and what we've found to be very valuable is lining up that POS sale, which is current, and lining it up with the O&R draw. So that's something that we coined as ORPOS, just a name we came up with it. It basically stands for lining up the O&R and the POS. I'm going to go into this particular report. And these are reports that we're beginning to build in our Query Studio tool. Many of you may be familiar with Query Studio, many of you may not. I am going to go in and show a lot of tips and tricks in the Query Studio tool after this I show this report. So you can see that we're here in Query Studio. This is a report for Kroger. Once again, I picked on Cosmo, and I picked on issue 2. And what you can see here is that we have the O&R draw as well as the RDC information once again here lined up against what we have as the POS sales from Kroger. And this, because we have this, we can quickly create a calculation that lets us know how many copies of Cosmo are sitting on the rack in a Publix in Knoxville, Tennessee. So this is something that we're really excited on, and it was a huge effort on our behalf to link the POS with the O&R by matching those stores. As many of you may know, the POS system and how they uniquely identify the store is completely different to how the agencies identify the store. So going through all of these stores that we have POS on and linking that to the O&R was an effort, but we've done it pretty diligently, and we're pretty happy with the tool as we speak. So this is something that we've done. This is something that we see becoming a big part of our reporting in the future, but just something to point out that we're working on. So that's this report. Once again, I built this report in Query Studio, any different level of data that you see here today, be it ONR, be it POS, be it ORPOS, be it the cover information, that all can pull into Query Studio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go into Query Studio as if I was going to create a new report, and I'm going to show a few things in the Query Studio tool. Query Studio is a tool that I use pretty much most of the time because I'm currently coming in and creating ad hoc reports and looking at it, you know, on a day-to-day basis. If you find that that's something that you are doing, or you're looking for a certain report that we don't have out there already, certainly let us know about that. But you can always build that report in Query Studio. The tool is very valuable. It is very versatile because basically you have all the data that we have in our database at your fingertips. So I'm going to go into Query Studio by going to Launch Query Studio. And you'll see that this is very familiar to the ORPOS thing that we have here. Basically how Query Studio works is you have a bunch of different data sets over here on the left. And each data set has data at a different level. And the reason we've done that is because the smaller the data set, obviously the quicker it is going to be to hit that database. So we've instead of including it all into one huge database and having our users sit out there and try and pull in data dimensions and wait, we created all these different snapshots of the data and allow our users to hit the database and query it pretty quickly. One thing that's important with this tool, for those of you that already have access to it, and I've touched on it before, there's a number of different ways of building a report. There's a number of different frameworks also. A big key here is to brainstorm, okay, well, what level of data do I want at that report? Do I want to run this report and query the database every time I pull in the data dimension? Those are the kind of questions that you have to ask yourself. Once again, these are all different frameworks, and they all have different levels of data, but all of the data that's in our database is available. So a brief summary, dealer OR detail will have everything down to the store level. This is going to be our largest data set. Wholesaler summary is going to have everything at the wholesaler level. So if you wanted to do analysis of a title for a particular wholesaler, that's in here as well. If you wanted to add chain level to that wholesaler level, that's going to be this one. And then if you wanted to add class of trade, that would be this one. So what I'm going to do here today, just to show you basically how this works for those of you that don't have Query Studio, is I'm going to go into one of these sets. And you'll see that we've grouped the data attributes into a bunch of different buckets. Okay, so I'm going to go into the issue one. You'll see all the different data dimensions that you have at your fingertips. I'm going to take BiPAD number and I'm going to pull it in. And that quickly, it's going to populate every BiPAD that we have in our system. Once you have a data set into your system, it's smart to filter that immediately, because that way when you pull in the next data set, it's not going to hit the database for all the BiPADs we have in our system. It's only going to hit it for the BiPAD that you want to look at. So if I wanted to filter this data set, or data dimension, I could right-click it, go to filter, and come in here, and it's going to let me search for what BiPAD I want to run this on. So in here, if I put in 08233, I'm going to find that BiPAD, and I'm going to click Insert. And now you'll see that it populated the filter on the top of the screen. Okay. From here, we can do a number of different things. We can pull in issue code. We can pull in wholesaler information. We can pull in on-sale, off-sale dates. So let's go ahead and pull some things in. I'm going to pull in issue code small. I'm going to pull in wholesaler information. Now, one thing that's important to realize is that if you're pulling this data in just to filter it, if it's going to be redundant, then you can filter this without actually pulling it in. So in this case, we have 8233. It's very repetitive here. We don't need that. I can delete that actual data dimension but keep the filter. So I can come in here, I can right-click it, I can go to delete, and it'll say, hey, wait a minute, you have a filter out there already. Do you want to delete the filter too? And I'm going to uncheck that and say, no, I want to keep this filter, but I don't want that repetitive 8233 in here anymore. So now we have the different issues of Cosmo. What we can do is now we can pull in the wholesaler information. Oh, not number, I want to do name. And you'll see all the different wholesalers. So now for each wholesaler, it's going to have each different issue code. Okay? So now all the wholesalers in your system you'll see, and you'll see that all the different issue codes. So now if I wanted to come in here and I wanted to pull in draw sale numbers, you would see that. If I wanted to filter to look at just a particular issue, I could do that. If I wanted to filter to look at just a particular class of trade, I could do that. If I wanted to look at a different off-sale range, I could do that. All of these data dimensions are available at your fingertips, and basically you can filter to do whatever you want. One thing that's important to realize is that this tool is very valuable in doing counts and doing count distincts and things like that. If you wanted to do a count distinct on a Magnet unique ID, or in this case, if we wanted to do a count on a count distinct on the issue code, and that way get a count for every issue that has gone to these wholesalers, we can do that. The tool is built to do that. So if I right-click that and I go to Summarize, you'll see here that it has a summary. What do we want to do with the footers? Well, I don't really care what we want to do with the footers. I want to see what we want to do with the actual cells. Once again, you have the Advanced button over here. Anywhere you see that, you want to click it. It asks for the summary of the cells. I'm going to do a count distinct. I'm going to hit OK. And you'll see that this is going to change from the different issue codes to, in fact, what this is now is a count distinct of all the different issue codes that we have in our system. So you'll see that Anderson has 15 different issues of Cosmo in our system right now. One thing that's important to realize, as many of you may know, is we're keeping a little over 3 years worth of information in our system. So that's why you're going to see Anderson stuff in here. So once again, if I didn't want to look at that older data, I could filter on off-sale date. I could filter on issue year. So if I wanted to come in here and I wanted to go into the issue screen and I wanted to change this to only look at issues off sale, you know, March of 2009 or March of 2010, if I didn't want to look at Anderson, I could come in here and I could right-click this and I could go filter. And I could say, hey, I only want to look at data since the beginning of, let's do January of 2011, off-sale date. Actually, let's do 2009. And I only want to look until December 31st of 2010. So I'm going to look at 2 years worth of off-sale of Cosmo. I'm going to hit OK here, and it asks me, hey, are you sure you want to apply this filter? I'm going to hit OK. So now you see those those issue counts went down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually pull in draw sale numbers. So this is hitting our database only for 2 years worth of data, only for Cosmo, and you'll see how quickly it hits that and then how quickly it returns those numbers. So now we have the issue count, we have the draw sale, we have the dollar count, and we can even pull in a dealer count. Okay, so that's how quickly you can do that. There's also tons of different levels and ways to sort the data. So in this case, let's say we wanted to sort this by dollar sale. You can easily do that. You can right-click up here, and you can go to sort. Okay, so basically what we're doing now is we're looking at 2 years worth of issues for Cosmo, 24 issues, and we're sorting this based on the total dollars sold for those issues. Okay, so you'll see here that News Group Atlanta is near the top, and that this is basically your sorted draw sale, dollar sale sorted by your dollar sale. If you wanted to say, oh, hey, I want to create an efficiency, I want to see how these agencies are doing over that 2-year time period, you can always build calculations based on those data dimensions. And the way that you do that is by clicking on 2 different data dimensions, holding the control key on your keyboard, and then going right-click and going calculate. In this case, let's say I want to do a division, okay? I'm going to change this from sum to division. It's going to ask me what I want to do. Do I want to divide draw by sale or sale by draw? In order to get efficiency or sell through, I'm going to pick this bottom one, and then I can actually name it whatever I want. So in this case, I'm going to name it EFF. I'm going to click Insert, and real quickly, it's going to create that data dimension in here as if it were one of our data dimensions already. And this is an accurate calculation of what the efficiency is for this agency over those 2 years. If I look at this and I go, okay, well, that's an efficiency, but it doesn't look like a percentage, that's just based on the format of the actual data dimension that we created. You can always change that. So if I wanted to right-click this and go to Format Data, these are all little things that just pretty up the report for you. And I change this from number to percentage, and then I change the number of decimal places that I want to include to 1. Basically, you're going to see that this is going to change this to something that may look a little nicer. It's going to change it to a percentage number, okay? So now we have our efficiency. We have, our dealer counts. And, let's say at the last minute here that I wanted to pull this out, and I wanted to look at this, maybe look at 2009 versus 2010. So what I'd have to do there is I wanted to pull in what we have is an issue year. And I'm going to drag this over, and I'm going to pull this in right here. And you'll see that now each agency is going to have 2 separate rows, right? So we'll have 1 row for 2010, 1 row for 2009. So that way you could line them up. But what Cognos has and what our business intelligence tool has is the ability to actually pivot that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the cell that I want to pivot. In this case, it's issue year. And I'm going to come up here to the top of the screen, and I'm going to actually pick Pivot, Create Crosstab. And what you're going to see here is that quickly it separated this into 2 separate years of issues of Cosmo magazine where you can line up 2010 versus 2009. Okay, so now we have this report. We have a summary of it on the right, and you can look at these agencies and do that comparison real quickly. So this is pretty powerful. And once again, you have all the data. It's all there at your fingertips. Okay, so we did this just looking at 2009 versus 2010. I can save this report in my folders. I can schedule this report to run. I can come in here and I can modify this report and change the title by just coming into the report and right-clicking it and changing the biped number. So if I wanted to come in here and I wanted to change it from 08233, remove that, and change it to 51027. That quickly, I'm looking at a different title. Now, once again, you're wondering, okay, why is there a gap here? And that's because this is the Anderson data. If I wanted to come in here and I wanted to change the off sale range, and I wanted to edit that and maybe include 2008, I could right-click it and edit the off sale and maybe change this back to look at 2008. And then it's going to do 3 years instead of 2. So now we have 3 years, okay? So you'll see here that, Anderson obviously doesn't have any 2010 data. We could sort this left to right to look, to go in order here. So that quickly, we've totally changed the report, right? I mean, we've included another year's worth of issues. We've changed our title. We could filter this down to look at just a particular set of agencies. We could look at just a particular set of titles. And that quickly we can change the report. So once you build a report and you save it, then you can go back in and change it whenever you want. So it's important to realize that this tool is nice because you have all the data, but a key to it is brainstorming, figuring out what level you want to look at the data, and then coming in and applying the filters and doing all of these tips and tricks. Okay, so basically that's what this tool is all about. Once again, there are those tips and tricks of doing count distincts on the issue code, of changing the sorting, of summarizing the data to be a currency, or to change it to be a percentage instead of a number. All of those are things that you can do. Some of the other things that you can do is you can create custom groups. You can create alerts based on these values. So if you say, hey, if the POS sale for a particular title goes above 1 million copies sold, I want it to email me that report. That's all stuff that you can do. So there's a lot of things out there. I've gone in and I've touched on a number of them here. I don't want to completely overwhelm you, but that's what this is. So I've gone through most of the things in my agenda here today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull I currently have almost everybody muted here, but I'm going to pull everybody off the mute. And if anybody has any questions about MagNet or any particular thing, then feel free to speak up. Hopefully not too many people speak up at the same time.
The cover. I was writing down the thing. I can't find it though. I'm logged into ours. Yeah, so cool. Do we have that?
Yeah, I think
Where's the cover thing? Do you remember where he said the cover? That's really cool.
Okay. At this time, if anybody has any additional questions going forward, I'm having a hard time hearing because of all the background noise. Feel free to reach out to me in the next couple minutes. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining. One thing that's important to mention is we're going to do a survey on the actual demonstration. I will send a link if you could go through, fill out that survey just to let us know how we did. Let us know if any of this stuff is valuable. That was helpful. You should be getting that in your email. Once again, this is the first of many webinars. We're going to do this pretty periodically. Thanks again for being part of the first group to join us. I want to say thank you for that. Hopefully, some of the things that I showed you here today are going to help you, run reports more efficiently, help the reports be more valuable to your company, and that's all I got. So everybody have a good day. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation.